To it.
Episode 2021 of 2024, whatever. I don't know. Episode 121?
121. Can you believe
121. I can't.
Seddy Bimco, Part 2, The Revenge. Well, we're continuing our tour of the 50 nifty United
States. From 13 original colonies.
This week, Wisconsin, from a movie from 1979 called Bog, B-O-G, Bog.
Or just Bog, yeah.
Bog.
It's uncertain if it's the Bog or Bog.
Okay. Let's get to it. Let me give you my age-old question, because it's a good one.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Can't wait. Let's hear it.
Age-old question about revenge. Justin Timberlake. Did Justin Timberlake, did he ever get revenge on his mother for naming his band after the place that he always washed his feet? You know, in sync. That was embarrassing.
I thought you were making a Timberlake. Was that a double joke? Were you being witty?
No, it's just it's embarrassing. That's where he washes his feet. In sync. Isn't that terrible?
You know who I bet's pretty mad about that? The other four members of NSYNC. You're like, really? You just think we're Justin Timberlake's band? Sure, You can't name us, but fuck you, buddy.
His mom did that.
Yeah, his mom really. What was her name? It was
in rocking chair. I don't know.
I'm a Justina Timberlake. Sucks. All right, start the episode. Sucks.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. Every week we watch a movie. And, I make lists and have a fun time. And I pick a number from a jar.
He's doing a terrible job, folks. We are America's foremost revenge-themed podcast. Every week we watch a movie that never had a revenge-themed revenge-themed sequel. And we, in an act of daring do, craft hypothetical revenge-based sequels for these movies. This week we're doing Bog or The Bog from Wisconsin. Now, we also do a bit of... yes-anding here. Tim is reaching into a jar and pulling out a number.
I did
You did. This number corresponds to a list. What's the number, Tim?
I did a wonderful job explaining the show, George. What's going on? Who from
What's
this movie?
the number?
Number 5. Yeah. Who from this movie we're going to watch? Mm-hmm. Most likely to be high while driving through France.
Oh, Tim Hamilton.
I'm not in this movie.
I don't know about that.
There was a big
monster. There was a big monster.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Mr. Fry.
Mr. Fry.
And George, before I forget, I'll let you come in hot and everything.
Oh boy.
I figured out how to say this. This movie we're going to watch this week.
Uh-huh.
Do you want me to wait to get to it? Do you want to?
No, I have no idea what you're doing, so just do it. Just do it.
Well, because I stumble over this. So when we talk about movies on Seddy Bimco, we like to place our movies in time by talking about how many years before or after Star Wars it was released. There, I got it.
Woo, you did.
This came out in 79.
2 years after Star Wars, 1 year before Empire.
3 years after the Bicentennial. 4 years after the pet rock craze. 9 years after the Beatles broke up. 16 years after JFK was shot. 34
3 years before John Lennon was killed.
Yes.
No, 1 year. 1 year, 79.
We're going further, George. Yeah. 34 years after the end of World War II, 65 years after Archduke Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated, and about 1 million years after the age of the dinosaurs.
Oh,
but there,
man.
I finally figured out how to say all that.
It sucks. I just want everybody to know it's 66 million years after the age of dinosaurs. Tim is drunk. There was something I wanted to say before you derailed us with that insanity.
Come in hot.
Yeah.
You're upset.
Yeah. I'm always upset, Tim. I'm like the Incredible Hulk. I'm always angry.
Are you upset they made a new Time Bandits? Because you love the old Time Bandits, I think.
Wait, they did?
You didn't know this? It's going to be on, I believe, is it Hulu or Amazon? Yeah. It's Apple TV.
What?
With Phoebe from Friends. I can't believe you didn't know this.
Oh my God.
And the demon is that man
It's a TV series.
Yep, the demon guy. He's the man from Flight of the Conchords. I forget his name. Like the darker-haired guy who's been in more shows.
Jermaine Clement?
I think, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm looking at this right now.
Blew George's mind.
I know. Oh my God, do you see that the main character is played by someone named Cal L. Tuck?
I didn't look at all the names.
Yeah, the main kid, Kevin, in 7 episodes, Cal L. Tuck.
Wow.
Like Superman and Tuck Everlasting.
Okay.
Kal-El. It's literally hyphenated like Superman.
I think it's cool, George. Why are you making fun of this child?
I'm not. Let's see.
If the child were better in the first one, I'd have to say it'd been a little bit better movie. It's fun movie.
So Jermaine Clement plays Wrongness, and Taika Waititi plays the Supreme Being. So the devil and God are both they're from New Zealand.
Oh, they New Zealanded it up. Or you mean the film gods? You're talking about the film gods.
Yes, Tim.
Not actual gods from the culture of New Zealand.
No.
Okay.
Nope. No. I don't know.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah, your mind is. You came in. Not hot. There's another word that starts with H to describe how you came in today.
Relax.
And your mind was thoroughly blown before we ever know. Chill. Yeah, chill. That's the way to say
it. So Wisconsin, we better get to it. We'll never get to it.
Oh man, can I make a confession, Tim?
You didn't look up any Wisconsin facts?
I looked up some, but I just look. No offense to Wisconsin. I did learn a little bit Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the 26th most populous state. Okay, a pretty solid mix of blue and red, which I was pretty happy to see.
Mm-hmm. Is it full of chickens like Delaware?
No, actually better.
Uh-oh.
It is this. That's so funny. You actually asked that question. It is the most populous state per mile for cows.
Whoa!
There are more cows per square mile in Wisconsin than any other part of the United States.
I could see that. Wisconsin cheese, right? They're making all that cheese.
Yeah. So this brings me to my big fact that I came in, and this is a fact. I was actually just telling my wife this before we started recording.
Sounds like a big fact.
So it is a big fact. This is my big thing I know about Wisconsin, which I did not bother to look up. This was something that was told to me about 30 years ago by a guy I knew who grew up in Wisconsin.
Okay.
He said that they had a contest in order to give it a state motto. And Wisconsin has a couple of state mottos. It's called the Dairyland. It's also called the Badger State. But the thing that was winning, and they had to pull the plug on it, was the people were voting for this slogan, which is the best slogan I've ever heard. Are you ready for it?
I didn't see the slogan.
Come smell our dairy air. And
is this real? I didn't see this.
This is what this guy told me. Now, I did look up "Come Smell Our Dairy Air." There's tons of T-shirts and stuff. So if it wasn't actually the running for a slogan, it's definitely something that somebody's making a buck off of.
It's good. It works on many levels.
It does.
It does.
So, yep. This is a fun fact I learned about Wisconsin. Let's see. They about 21 million gallons of ice cream are eaten there every year by Wisconsinians. Ooh. There's only a little bit over 5 million Wisconsinites.
5 million?
So so it's 5.8 million people live in Wisconsin. But together, those 5.8 million people eat 21 million gallons of ice cream. So I'm way to go, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Ooh. Think of the sewer system.
I don't want to.
There's a lot of things going through my head.
Almost all of the ginseng that is farmed in the United States is collected in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. We have those trees in our neighborhood.
They're trees? I thought they were shrubs.
No, they're trees.
Did they mention... I have a question, Tim. Did they mention that in the movie Ginseng a lot? Or is that I was just so happened to be watching a quote-unquote documentary about Bigfoot in Wisconsin?
I didn't hear it mentioned. This is coming out of the blue.
So weirdly, this week, I was watching... So, all right, so here's something, a peek behind the curtain, everybody.
Again?
While I am writing, and not when I'm writing, while I'm drawing, because my day job, as you all know, is a New York Times bestselling cartoonist. Hi. While I'm drawing, I tend to, listen to... podcasts or YouTube videos.
Me too.
And recently I've been really into listening to ones about cryptids.
Oh.
And I've been watching there's this group, shout out to Small Town Monsters. It's a YouTube channel.
Okay.
They crank out 4 documentaries a fucking week. It's amazing.
Oof.
And it's always them going into Wisconsin or something and just introducing a collection of yokels. And they were talking, these one guys, I was watching this one, they were talking about Bigfoot, and they're like, I was getting ginseng. And we're getting ginseng. And now I understand. It's a Wisconsin thing.
Wow. That's an invasive species, I believe. That's from Korea.
I thought it was a Far East thing. And I'm like, that's weird that it's in there.
Well, they can do a lot of podcasts because they're doing cryptids, George, not to be mean, but Not a lot of research there.
There's not, no. But they do go on the set, and it's, Tim, there's nothing like cryptid research. Let me tell you, folks.
No, there's nothing like it.
I do not believe in Bigfoot. I do not believe in Dogman. I do not believe in all these creatures. But I am endlessly fascinated by the people who do, because they will go into the woods and they will hear random knocks of wood. Now, right. Tim, you and I have been in the woods. We've heard knocks of wood. It's just trees cracking or maybe clumsy beavers falling down or something.
Yes.
They're like, this is a heretofore undiscovered species of great ape / missing link human being, which is using its knocks to communicate with us. It's like, wow, what? When you hear like a whinny in the dark, do you assume it's a unicorn? That doesn't make any sense.
No, I look for Christopher.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit something, Christopher.
Robbins.
Chris Robin?
Yeah, you were talking about hearing a whinny in the woods. It's like,
oh, I see what you're doing, Winnie the Pooh. You still got it, Tim.
Still got it.
So what I'm going to regale people with is the thing that to me is the most exciting thing in Wisconsin. It is the location of the super famous cryptid, the Beast of Bray Road. Tim, have you ever heard of the Beast of Bray Road?
You've mentioned it.
Yeah. So he's also known, or it's suspected to be the same creature in neighboring Michigan, where they call him the Michigan Dogman. But if you've ever seen like a modern werewolf movie where the werewolf is like an upright being with like a dog head, but it's like kind of like got, dog legs, but it stands on its hind legs. That's what that's what he's supposed to look like. Yes. And in like the 1970s or early 80s, this woman, Linda Godfrey, who was a reporter and cartoonist for his local newspaper, got assigned to fill up some articles in this newspaper in Wisconsin. And she went out there and she was talking to like the wildlife guy, and he had a big folder that said werewolves. So she's like, what's that about? And she made this her whole fucking career, because every once in a while people call these accounts of these fucking werewolves. These and they're not just like a werewolf standing on its hind legs. It's like 5 foot tall. That would be notable. If I saw a wolf walking on its hind legs, I'd be like, holy shit, man. I saw like a fucking werewolf.
What's her career? I don't get what her career is.
Linda Godfrey, who used to be a cartoonist / reporter for the local newspaper, she became a famous cryptozoologist. She would just write endless books about the Beast of Bray Road.
There's money in that.
Oh, she made a lot of money.
There's money.
She's one of the ones that did. If you could get, Tim, just imagine you go back in time and you're hanging out in the Pacific Northwest and you take a film of a guy wearing a monkey suit and you say, look, it's the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Mm-hmm.
And you copyright that shit. Can you imagine?
Let's do it.
We have to go back in time. In fact, if we just make a time machine, let's go back in time. And just
I'm more into demon dogs. So
yeah,
I think they're real. I've seen them.
Okay. I'm into devil dogs. I saw one in my supermarket.
Yeah. I like ding dongs. I saw one of those on the computer. Yeah. They're stacked next to the Oreos, Come on.
That was the same joke I made.
I know. But I made a different joke.
Your joke sucked.
Do you know that ding dongs are a treat in the supermarket? And I said, Tim, I saw that on my computer. I flipped your joke.
Oh, I get it. You saw a ding dong on your computer. Everybody, you got that joke, right? In case you're wondering,
maybe they don't make ding dongs anymore.
No, I think they make ding dongs. I got a few more. Speaking of ding dongs, okay. I got a few more facts. This is true. Green Bay, third most populous city in Wisconsin, is also known as the toilet paper capital of the world. I don't know why.
You could be making that up.
No, look it up. Look it up right now, buddy. Listeners, stop this podcast. Look up. For some reason, Green Bay is toilet paper capital. I don't know why. And 2 last facts. First elevator. This is controversial, Tim.
Okay.
I found this amazing website that is it was literally called Important Dates in Wisconsin Elevator Code.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, yes.
You didn't send this to me.
And it's just this list of everything happens by date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Earliest date is 1912. That was the first instance of the elevator code.
Ooh.
Tim, this is what's troubling. Even a cursory examination of buildings in Wisconsin show there's at least 3 or 4 buildings still standing since 1900 that have elevators.
Oh.
Meaning there's like over a decade of just elevators being put up with nothing controlling them, just madness. So that says a lot about them. Like those standards. They're like,
no standards.
Who cares?
Oh, that was the last time.
There was no code.
No codes.
First code was 1912, but the first elevator was at least 1900.
Oh, I see.
So that's like 12 years of people just going, yeah, build it. Who the hell cares?
I think that people could bring toilet paper on the elevators there. That's why. It's the toilet
in Green
paper
Bay, probably.
In Green Bay.
Oh, maybe
Figured
it's a toilet paper capital because people were on these codeless elevators shitting themselves out of pure fear.
Yes.
And so everyone just had toilet paper shoved in their pants. And for streetcar, Tim?
Uh-oh.
Appleton, Wisconsin, which I didn't even know was a place.
Nope.
1886, first electric streetcar. Before that, there were horse-drawn cars. Yep, that's Wisconsin.
I looked at their flag, as I often do.
Yep, was it a picture of toilet paper?
Like all these flags, it's a mess. It's a sailor and a fireman. And this is fine, very progressive for the day. If you look at it, it looks like the sailor's giving the fireman the eye. He's like, hey.
Is there three others, like a construction worker and a Native American and a cowboy?
No, just these two. They're talking about forming a band.
Oh,
hey, we could be the village people. We need a macho guy, a sailor.
Do they have big handlebar mustaches?
Yes.
How is the abs situation? When you say it's sick abs?
Oh, they got clothes on. That's why they're firemen. It's not it's not like a sexy fireman with his shirt off. So yeah, flag's a mess. Got a badger. It's got little gray triangles.
I'll look this up.
It's got a plow and a shovel.
Really?
Yep.
A plow and a shovel. Do you mean not like a snow plow? That's not that bad a flag.
It's a mess.
No, that looks like the New York flag. That's not bad.
Those two guys want to make out, though.
They definitely do. Those two guys, like the fireman is strapping. The other guy has tight white pants. He looks like Freddie Mercury. This is hot.
Why is there no toilet paper on that cover, on that flag?
Because that's Green Bay, not all Wisconsin. I assume maybe, Tim, how about this as an idea? Maybe the reason Green Bay is called the toilet paper capital of the world is because it's the only place in Wisconsin where people bother wiping themselves. Maybe the rest of Wisconsin, people just find they just trail it behind them like a fucking steady stream of filth. If you live in Wisconsin and want to educate us, please write to us at Seddy Bimco with an E at the end at gmail.com.
Write a letter, not a lettuce. I have one little thing I forgot to tell you. 17 minutes.
This is good.
We recently did this trip to Europe. I forgot to tell George something. We went to Europe. George got married. A lot of people
I got married.
Went to Italy. It was Italy. It was Rome, Italy we went to.
Rome, Italy, yes.
So I just want to say, Gene's parents are old. This is just an old thing.
This is producer Mrs. Lee.
Mrs. Lee, my wife.
Yep.
She told her parents we were going to Italy like a month ago. And when we were at the airport, I said, you should call your dad because your parents just like, they forget things. Let them know we're going to Italy, Rome. So I have a feeling her dad was napping because her end of the conversation was, hi, Dad. Just want to remind you, we're going to Rome. She goes, no, not in New York. No, it's in Italy. They said, no, not a train. We're at the plane. We're at the airport. We're flying to Europe. She had to say that a few times because I know he was napping. She's like, yeah, he was half asleep.
I like that in her father's world, like you could take a train to Italy.
I know. Well,
I'd be on that train right now. Why would I? I don't think I've ever been that asleep. One day I aspire to rest that completely.
So a few days later, when we're in Rome, having fun, Jean gets a text from her mom. And I'm like, oh, your dad just realized we're in Rome and told your mom. And do you think this text would say, hey, Jeannie, have fun in Rome. Just heard you went, have a great time. And I'm going to say something you're not supposed to say, but this is what old people say. The text was simply what?
Watch out for them Italians?
No.
Okay.
The text said, Jean, I know this is how her mom sounds. Not making fun of her. I love her parents. She says, Jean, watch out for the gypsies. That's what she said. That's what she texted. So sorry, people. That's what old people say. But this movie in Wisconsin, filmed there in a pond and not a bog, I don't think. It was either
that was my first thing. How dare this movie be called a bog? I'm like, I even looked up the definition of bog. May I read it to you?
Yes, you may.
Wet, muddy ground too soft to support a heavy body.
Right.
This is not a bog.
It's either a lake or a pond.
Yeah, outrageous. So right off the bat, I'm like, this movie got no use for it.
But I do want to mention there's an old actress that used to be in movies with Bing Crosby in this.
Really?
Gloria DeHaven.
Yeah, I figured because there was. If you look this movie up on not Instagram, Wikipedia, a lot of Seddy Bimco movies, there'll be a lot of not blue links next to names.
Yeah.
But like the top 6 people in this movie all had links. And
yeah.
She definitely had some level of movie star quality. And like, you know what this movie reminded me of immensely? You ever see the giant spider invasion?
No, I almost picked that.
It's not good. And it's got like, it's got a few old timey actors, including the guy who played the skipper, Alan Hale Jr. or Sr.
Is Shatner in this?
And like, no, nobody that big. But there's a couple older actors who are like, and it's funny. You can see their scenes were definitely filmed separate. Like they probably filmed the bulk of that trash movie elsewhere, and then they filmed a couple scenes with these people. Like every scene with the skipper is just him on the phone yelling stuff incredulously, and it reminded me of the sheriff in this movie. Right. And there was an older woman who definitely had some old Hollywood gravitas who was like our lead character in that movie, just like this movie.
But
this movie, what do you think, Tim?
Well,
on the count of 3, let's say if it was rocked or sucked. 1, 2, 3.
Kind of rocked.
Socked. I said socked, everybody, because it kind of was. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the characters.
Terrible.
The doctor at the end, because I'm going to forget this. His name is Leo Gordon. I just wanted to point out. I don't know if you read his bio.
Well, he was the doctor of fish sticks.
Yes, but in real life,
no,
he was in World War II, honorably discharged. Him and his pals after that decided to rob a bar. He was shot in the stomach, went to prison.
In Europe or here?
Here.
Okay.
And went to prison, studied acting, and ended up in this movie. So,
wow, good for him.
He looked like a tough guy.
Which guy was this?
This is the doctor at the end. When they say, we think we found a fish creature. And he says, how about you let me tell you what's a fish and what isn't a fish? You don't remember this guy?
I vaguely remember. So, Tim, here's my big confession.
You fell asleep.
No, I watched the whole thing, but this was one of those movies where like a minute in, I'm like, I'm not taking notes. My entirety of notes is one. I recorded the one instance of money to do a George Currency Kerner.
Oh, good.
That is it.
Well, starts off with that wonderful song I played. Yep.
And start a guy throwing dynamite in a pond.
That song was called Walk With Me, by the way. Just want to let you know.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'll say it opened with wonderful 70s cars and images. And,
actually, it opened very much like a Boggy Creek movie. It was like bucolic scenes of like woodlands and wet.
That's
wetlands.
Right.
Yeah. There wasn't the cars yet because it was just the dude in the boat. He's lighting little dynamites and throwing them in the water because that's the way he's fishing.
He hates fish.
He hates fish. He hates dynamite. He's like, I'm gonna make the two of them meet each other in a fiery explosion. And then he looks over the side. He goes, "Ah!" And the camera zooms in his face, and something gets him.
Yep.
Beginning. And it says, bog.
Yeah, with cool typography. Someone worked on that, and they didn't need to.
Someone worked very hard on that part
to make it look like boogers.
Tim.
So we got campers in a car, 2 guys, and they're, I guess, are they married? Do we ever hear they're married?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they spit because once they go missing, they keep talking about their missing wives.
That's right, they're missing wives.
I just want to say whoever was the screamer for this part has the worst opinion of married life I've ever. I know. Like, these women are shrill harridans. These men are like dumb oafs. They're like, oh, my wife. These women hate their husbands. These husbands hate their wives.
I was like, why did you bring them? Why couldn't you just go camping? It didn't seem like they...
Why?
But they wanted to show them a good time. At one point, he's like, come on, honey. I just wanted to show you how much fun this is.
Yeah, and like the wife's like, you're drinking too much beer. And like they're literally like, oh, we should show our wives to Saks Fifth Avenue. Like, it's like Flintstones level shit.
It's bad.
One of the guys actually calms his wife down by saying, honey, I'll take you out to lunch. She's like, and my mother?
Yes.
He goes, and your mother. It's so, I'm like, what?
And the one guy says, maybe we should switch wives. I forget why he says it, but
there is a brief instance of, I just assumed it's the 70s. And
it's
everyone
the 70s.
Was just, wife swapping was just like, that was just standard for the course.
She's like, this is as bad as that time you made me go to see that Star Wars movie with the robots and the laser razors. He does a racist bit about Mary being his slave because he's like, He does that bit. Yeah.
He actually calls her enslaved one.
Yes.
Like that's the term he uses. It's like, what?
So they steal the boat.
This is what... No, they don't steal the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't know who's... Oh, all right. We're getting there. Sorry.
Yeah, well, they find the fucking boat. That's important to mention. They pull up in this thing. They're camping there. The wives are yelling at them. They go to the shore and they find this boat that's fully laden with all the stuff. It's the boat from the guy through the dynamite.
I do want to make a point. They went out here because no one goes out there. It's like a quiet place. No one goes there. It's a big point about that. I want to make that point.
It's this pond that nobody ever knows about. They keep saying it. And then, of course, when I think it's the two wives find it first. Like, I thought that Chuck said nobody ever goes out here.
Yeah, I know.
Chuck doesn't know shit. He certainly doesn't ever give me pleasure. And
I know.
These people hate each other. So they split off. One of the couples, man and woman, stays on the shore and goes fishing, and one of them goes into the boat. And the couple on the boat, the one guy, he has a mustache. These are some 70s looking fucks.
Like, give me a beer so I can fish.
Yeah, she goes, another. You're having another beer. I'm like, oh. This lady, I just want to mention, is just funny. She, like, this is not a movie where there's a lot of money. And they clearly dressed from home. This woman's like, I'm going to wear a tube top today. You can see this was a bad move for her because in the shortly to come action scenes, she is like holding onto this tube top for dear life.
Right.
I also want to mention, like, this is not like a sexy movie.
No.
Like, if you're picturing like starlets here, like these are like, we're looking at a bunch of 50. Well, no. They look like they're a bunch of 50-year-olds, but this is the 1970s. They're probably in their mid-20s. Everyone looks like ass back then.
Her name is May, by the way, and his name is Alan. I wrote down their names. May and Alan.
Oh, wait, May and Alan and Chuck and who on the shore?
I wrote her name somewhere. I don't know.
Nah, I wrote no. So they're on the boat. She's yelling at him about the beer. He says he'll take her and her wife and her mother out for lunch. And then... something hits the bottom of the boat and they're like, what is that? It's big. I want to go back. Alan, is that his name?
Yeah.
And he's like, shut up. I'm just fishing. And then he ignores her. She's screaming. And then they hear a scream from the shore. And he's like, let's say Trixie. It's Trixie. and I actually thought the way they were showing, he was so much more interested in the other guy's wife. I'm like, they really are going to do a wife swap thing here, aren't they?
So,
and the other guy's running along the shore to get to his wife because he wasn't with her for some reason, and it's too late. She's dead.
She's in the water, dead.
She's in the dead, floating face up because the actor was not. The actor was clearly like, I'm not going to put my face down.
And the other woman dies. Oh, the other woman runs to the car, but she gets killed. Remember,
holding on to her tank top for dear life, like running. Right. Like it's so funny. I'm like this. I'm just saying, like Tim, I have to admit something. I don't have breasts. When I run, I'm unencumbered by having to worry about my breasts flopping out of my shirt as I run. But I feel like if I saw my friend murdered by something, I've probably seen the monster at this point or a hint of it. I'm running like I don't care.
You're right.
Yeah, but she runs to the car. She can't get in. She looks up, goes, ah, and something zooms in her face.
Yep.
Then we cut to.
I think we just cut to the police station because
where the two guys are there.
Yeah, Ginny. Ginny is our coroner, I guess. She's a scientist.
Is that what she was?
Well, she did an autopsy on the body.
You're right. She does do an autopsy.
They're talking about her medical opinion is all the blood was drained, and we may have a Dracula out there.
I was so delighted. She goes, I don't want to say it, but I think we might have a Dracula here. One of my favorite things in the world is when you'll notice I do this all the time. When somebody says a Dracula instead of a vampire, right. I love it. It's like the stupidest thing. I'm like, yes.
How bizarre. So the husbands come up.
This is the woman who is played by the movie star person.
To heaven.
The two husbands, I love this. The husbands were separated from their wives.
Somehow.
Their wives were actually, do they even know that the one girl's dead yet? Because they don't know they're dead yet. They just kind of like their wives go disappearing. Instead of staying there looking for their wives, they run to get the sheriff.
No, they do know that they're dead. They saw the one body.
No, they don't yet, I think.
But they run up to the police because they're like, we want to see our wives' bodies. And the policeman's like...
That's later. No, they go back and they find the bodies.
Oh, okay. I'm just leaving some stuff out.
These guys hear some screaming and just like run away. And like
that's right. They run away.
They can't possibly be more than 50 feet away from where their wives were taken. Like,
no.
What's happening here? So the sheriff goes back up there with them, and then they find the bodies this time. They didn't find the bodies before. They find the one lady floating up, and they find the other lady by the car.
Yes.
And they're dead. Yeah.
They are dead. The blood drained out of them.
All the blood drained. Dracula, maybe.
They run to the police, and the cops like, sorry about your wives, boys, but you can't see them.
Yep.
They're a real mess. And they look like they've been run over by a trolley car. Just
legs are off. One of them, the guy's like, there are wives, let us see him. And he tries to push past it. And the cop grabs this guy and goes, hey, listen, buddy. I'm like, oh, buddy. This guy's wife is dead. Maybe take a chill pill. Like throws him up against the thing. The guy's like, okay. These guys clearly not going through any grieving. Well, they walk away. I'm just going to say it's just this part. My one note. They go into the local gun shop. Oh, I should have mentioned this, Tim.
This is a great scene.
Well, before this, we did see a local yokel type at the pond. When we see the woman get sucked into the lake, we see this a little bit. The other guys don't. We see a guy watching from the shore, and he runs away. And
he's dressed like a scarecrow, basically.
He is dressed like a scarecrow. He's just like a character from like Whiskey Mountain or whatever that's called. Moonshine Mountain.
Either one.
Either one. So the two guys have decided that like there's no justice like vigilante justice, and they're in the local town buying guns. And
you didn't take notes about this conversation, or do you remember?
Only thing I took was that it was $500 for guns.
Yeah, but he's like, "Well, do you live around here? Can't sell you a gun."
I was about to say it. Yeah,
but if a scene later, he's like, "Okay, I'm selling you guns." Did you notice that?
No, he doesn't sell them guns. The yokel's going to sell them guns.
Really? I thought the store owner was like. How much
store owners
for the bullets, and he just sells them. I guess I was confused.
The store owner is like, he's like, he won't sell them because of the guns. And the yokel guy comes up and he's like, oh boy, look who it is.
It's Fry. Like, his name's Fry.
Fry.
And he talks like my Mark Twain impersonation. He does it worse than me.
He says, count your fingers after you shake hands with that guy. And like, that guy sells him the guns.
He's like, Fry can get you anything for $1. That's what he sounds like.
Yes, I can. Yoda.
He says, you want a comics page from a week-old newspaper? $1.
It's got the Lockhorns. Also, Boner's Ark. That's 2 laps right there. $1.
You want a used nickel? $1.
So they buy a shotgun.
Wait, George. Do you want a Luke Skywalker action figure that's missing both arms and both legs and its torso? $1.
So it's a head?
It's a head.
Don't smell the head too closely. It smells unpleasant.
So, yes, that's him. That's his.
So this character that we derailed the podcast. Yeah. This character sells them a shotgun and a rifle for $500.
It's my favorite character. Oh, you did your... Yeah.
Play the music. George's currency Kerner. You want to guess how much $500 from 1979 has the buying power of today in 2024?
150. So
you're thinking it actually went down?
No. I mean, it was 1,500. Sorry, 1,500.
Okay. It was $2,163.74.
Close.
This has been your installment of George's Currency Kerner and the end of my notes I took for this great movie from Wisconsin.
Well, Fry takes them out to the woods. He's like, because he knows his way around. He's going to show them where the creature is.
Yep.
And
has he said it's a creature yet, though?
No, he must have said
I'm going to take
why they have guns.
He's going to take because they fit.
But he takes them out to meet the hag in the woods.
What's her name again?
She's just the hag of the woods. They call her the hag of the woods.
She has
Adriana.
Yeah. And this is a pretty great character.
Yes.
She's wearing some of the shittiest old age makeup I've ever seen.
Same actress.
Know who she looked like? Wait, same actress as who?
She's the doctor. I read that.
No.
She just played 2 parts.
You know who she looked like to me?
Who?
You ever see The United States of Tara? You know Toni Collette?
Nope, I have not seen that.
Did you ever see Hereditary, that horror movie?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the mom in Hereditary?
Oh, okay, yes.
Toni Collette. I thought this woman with like her weird slathered on pancake makeup looked like Toni Collette. And she really talks like Yoda. And she's all like, yes, he awakens in the swamp. He stays where it's wet and muddy. And he comes up and he needs the blood of women and all this shit. And the guys are in this little like weird Dagobah shack listening to this crap.
And they hear the creature.
This actually is so close to Dagobah Yoda shit that it's kind of stunning. This is a year before him. Yeah. And they hear the monster outside, which
I smell lawsuit. Thievery.
And your favorite character, Fry goes out. These guys are late. These are who I assume were our heroes at this point. The two guys who ran away from their wives screaming.
Yes.
But now we're laden with guns. They're sitting there talking to this old lady. Fry runs outside, gets mauled.
Yeah,
He's screaming.
It's like a play.
They're all sitting there. Like it's like a shack.
It
like,
is.
They're like 3 feet away from this. They have guns. They never go outside. They just sit there like, oh. She's like, nah, don't go outside. That guy sucked.
Fry. I miss Fry. He's my favorite character.
I know. So did you just turn off the movie after this? You're like, well,
yeah,
if Fry's gone, I don't know. Yeah.
And then
that's why you're wearing that T-shirt that says "I'm a Fry guy."
I'm a Fry guy.
I thought it's because you love McDonald's so much.
Yep, I confused a lot of people with that. So, Brad is a doctor. We're back at the police station. Brad is a guy doctor. Ginny is the female doctor, and they spend a lot of the movie examining microscopes and she's like, she talks about the creature and
Ginny discovers that they blood was drained from their throat. Yes. And the thing that stabbed them was left a shard of something chitinous. And he's like, do you realize what you're saying? She's like, yes, it was organic. It's like a giant bug. Spoilers, when we see it, it's nothing like a bug.
No. But also, the funny thing about them is she's always like, I think it's this and that. And he just rubs his chin every time. He goes, I think you may be right.
I will give credit to this movie. Normally, if a movie from 1979, the woman is like just like an idiot. And
she's in charge.
This woman is definitely in charge. She is the smartest character in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well,
turns out she's the hero.
Except for that Dracula comment. But yes, she's the smartest one.
She's definitely not well versed in vampire lore.
No.
And this other doctor, like he's like, well, I thought of you so hard during this part, Tim. After they're working late, and he's like, you know, I wonder, Ginny, if we could have a moment to talk about something. She's like, yeah, what is it, Brad? He's like, can we talk about us? She's like, only if you want to. He's like, well, I've been a widow a long time, and I'm hoping to change that with you. And immediately my brain goes to, you're going to resurrect your wife with her somehow? Yes. But no, then they start kissing, and it was like, look, these people weren't that old, but we know from previous episodes, there's nothing Tim hates more than like old people making out.
35-year-old people making out. That's gross.
They look like they're in their 60s. They probably were 35 because this is the 70s. But man, it's like 5 minutes of them making out, like super close up.
Yep. And he says, like, I want to talk to you about other things. That's what he says.
He says, I want to talk about D's nuts. And then,
No, he says, do you think the Star Wars sequel will start with Luke and Leia having a baby?
I sure hope those two kids end up together. They have a lot in common. Like a lot in common. You know what I'm saying? I like the way they, and you know,
and he wants to talk about
I sure hope there's a scene where like the people are getting information in a shack in the middle of a bog somewhere from a crazy old mystic who speaks in weird ways. I sure hope that happens.
And he dies.
Yeah. Then he dies.
Oh no. And I think she should be a puppet, not a real lady.
She might as well have been.
And he wants to talk about his favorite post-Beatles album, which is Wings Over America, the 3-record set. Reached
That's
number one
Ringo Starr, right?
in America.
Ringo Starr? Ringo?
Nope. No, they explained that the wild success of the triple album, the Beatles' mystique was still much attached to record and artist alike. At the time, John Lennon had burnt out, George Harrison was losing his popular edge, and no one was expecting anything from Ringo. That's what someone said. That's what someone wrote.
Was that someone Tim Hamilton?
No. This was Stephen Thomas Erlewine.
This is the shit that you have ready to go, huh?
This show is educational.
Question, Tim. Wasn't the first post-Beatles album, All Things Must Pass, a double album by none other than George Harrison?
No. He wanted to talk about his favorite post-Beatles album. That was Brad. Brad was talking to Ginny in between kisses.
I hate this.
Okay, come on. Thought you'd build on it.
No, I got nothing.
So they kiss.
They kiss for like 5 minutes. They play flashing lights and kind of vaguely disco music to it. She keeps rolling her eyes, but it's like there's close up. It's such a close camera angle. And they never focus on the guy because the guy looks like he's made of melted Play-Doh.
Ooh, yes.
The woman's very pretty,
she is.
But it's just like she's getting kissed in lips, and then he kisses the side of her face, and she rolls her eyes back and goes, oh, and they do that it's like 3 times. Like the director yell cut.
She blew in his ear at one point. I don't know if you noticed that.
And then we heard a hollow noise. It was like a jug. It was a boop, boop, boop. Yep. Then a bunch of bears came out and they sang a song.
So,
all right.
Alan and Chuck, those are those guys whose wives died.
The guys whose wives died.
They seem to be helping the police now. I'll get us along because they're just with the police with guns. And Corky is the name of a police officer. He goes and throws a big bomb in the lake. Is that what's happening,
folks? Yeah, they throw in one of the husbands is like, that doesn't look that big. He's like, look, when we blow this up, there'll be nothing left in that lake. And this is what made me sad watching this movie, because this wasn't filmed in a bog. This is filmed in a fairly small pond. Like you see the other side of this. Mm-hmm. They really threw in like a giant explosive in here. I'm like, they literally killed everything.
Probably.
Like, so many frogs, so many fish, so many everything died when they blew this thing up.
So
big old explosion in the water. And the sheriff's like, well, that's that. There'll be nothing left.
Yes. And he turns around. He hears Corky screaming. He just turns around.
No, don't they go in the car first. They're driving away and they hear pow, 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 pow. They're like, what in tarnation going on? They drive back. And Corky runs out because one of the husbands is already dead.
Yes.
We see another one, his arm in the water with blood coming up like Jaws or something. And Corky runs over to the water and he gets killed. Instantly. And the sheriff is watching this and immediately
pounding on
his car. And the sheriff watching this, instead of pulling out his gun, he turns around and pounds the top of his car and goes, damn it, and runs away.
Tarnation.
So in one fell swoop, this thing, now we're up to like a body count of 6 because we had Dynamite Guy, the 2 wives, now the 2 husbands. Oh no, 7. Fry, Corky.
All the characters I liked.
Yeah. And I honestly thought the husbands were going to be the main characters at this point, but they're dead. And the sheriff races back and he talks with the doctor and they're like, yeah, I think it's a big bug. And
yeah, that's it for the interesting characters.
Yeah.
This town has like 10 cops.
Well, there is one other cop. There's still the guy with the mustache who threw the guys against the wall. He's like, hey, calm down. He's still alive. He's a cop. There's still the sheriff.
For a while.
And the sheriff this is my favorite detail, Tim.
Okay, where are we?
The sheriff calls in 3 divers from a neighboring town.
Oh, I love these divers.
I love these divers. What I love even more is after the dialogue had already been recorded of 3 divers. They pull up, and there's the one guy that he knows, he's old friends. This guy was actually really nice.
Terry and Bill. I got their names.
Terry, and I liked Terry. Terry was very smiley. Like he actually was selling. I'm like, I believe these 2 had a relationship. He's like, who's that guy next to you? And he's like, this is Bill. And he goes, where's the 3rd guy? It's like, we don't need a 3rd guy. And on the day of filming, the 3rd guy's like, I got a hangover. I'm not coming. It's like they didn't go back and film scenes and explain it's only 2 guys. Nope. No, they only have 3.
His name was Patrick. He stayed home because that's the day the new Playboy came out. He always wants to see the centerfold.
Was it with Precious Waters?
Nope, wrong year.
No, wrong year.
Teddy. Lucky Pennsylvania.
Lucky Pennsylvania. That's her name?
Yes, that's her name.
Oh, weird.
So I love these characters. Yes. Bill seems like he might have been called in at the last minute too. Bill's like no expressions. He just smiles.
Bill has no lines. Yeah, Bill has no lines. Well, I thought about that and I actually realized why. Because these people, unlike the rest of the fucking hunks of wood that populate this movie, they actually do diving. And they actually have some scenes of them underwater, which was like, let's give this movie some credit where credit's due. Like
they did film underwater.
You know, a Herschel Gordon film isn't going to have a scene underwater. You know, a Jack Weiss film isn't going to have a scene underwater. They don't have the ability to do that. These guys did.
Yep.
So they're underwater.
But wait, do we think that's silly? In this pond, they got in a boat and they went out and put up a flag and dived from their boat.
Oh my God, I didn't think of that. This boat, folks.
Like 6 feet
I
out.
am no Olympic athlete. I could definitely swim across this pond very easily. Like, you see the back. So
yes.
they literally go at about 12 feet and they have a line attached to the shore. And they dive down and they're looking for, I guess, what they've decided is a monster at this point. Because they're very much like, yeah, it's some sort of monster.
Yeah.
They find this fucking thing. It's this clear, hard plastic thing with lights in it. I'm like, is that supposed to be eggs? Yeah, it's supposed to be eggs. It's
solid.
It looks
plastic.
like a bunch. It looks like a bunch of Christmas decorations.
Yes.
And they pick it up as a cluster, and then we see this is our first glimpse we really get of the monster. We see something kill the one guy who has no lines. Like it looks like a crab claw. He's like blah blah blah, and Jerry gets to shore and he throws the eggs into the boat and he's like, pull the boat back in, and the sheriff's trying to pull the boat back in.
Too late,
and it kills Jerry too. And then it comes onto shore and we see it and it sucks. Wait, we see it here, right?
I don't think so. I don't think yet.
Oh, I guess we don't really see it until they see enough of
Jaws,
it, I guess.
not to the end.
No, we see it pretty clearly before the end because the sheriff again runs off after his friends die. But they have the eggs.
Does another cop die in this?
What?
Does another cop die now? A lot of cops
No,
die.
not yet.
Okay.
There's only one cop that survives. It's the guy with the mustache. They take the eggs back and they put it in the lab. And the woman doctor and her boyfriend now, they're looking like, these are eggs. And then the monster comes into town and steals the eggs. They're like, the monster came into town and steal eggs. Like, it snuck in at night.
We skipped a lot of stuff.
Did we?
Because you didn't take notes.
Yep.
One thing, she's always like, I want to send these eggs to TC Labs. I don't know. She's just all this dialogue is pointless. And he goes, yeah, you're pretty smart. We should send it to TC Labs. And do you remember this? And what happened here? What we missed? No one goes this lake, right? And the cops are like, you need to go shut that lake off. We don't want people going up there. And then they show like a traffic jam, people wanting to go there, and two girls ride their bikes right by the cops. I'm like, I thought no one went here.
And one of them gets killed by the monster.
But one of them,
she finds a body,
tells the police how to draw it. Remember?
Yep.
And they don't show us.
Drawing of her.
And they don't show us, the viewer.
We saw it.
The drawing? Did I blink?
Oh, no, Tim, maybe I'm thinking of one of those Bigfoot documentaries I was watching.
Yes, I think you are. I'm like, you got a drawing, you don't show the audience.
I gotta not. Yeah. So a lady gets killed.
Little girl.
The body count. She's not a little girl. She's a teenager.
Yeah, teenagers. Whatever. I just meant young girls.
Yeah, she's young. The body count in this movie is shockingly high. Like,
it is.
Like this monster kills like 30 people before this movie's over. So they are able to analyze something from the lab and they figure out a way is to kill it, not to kill it, to incapacitate it using this foam because they want to study it.
Yes. And so now you're trying. You're up to where the creature comes all the way to town to steal eggs from the lab.
Steals the eggs.
I don't know how far this town is. This lake is out in the middle of nowhere that no one goes to.
Yep.
It's all very confusing.
It's also a weird monster. It's a swamp monster. It walks into town, steals the eggs, and they're like, something stole the eggs. I think it maybe kills somebody.
Probably did.
Probably kills somebody.
3 more people.
Then the sheriff gets the volunteer firemen. They make up this formula, this foam stuff, and they go down to the lake.
It's part 3, George. All the townsmen go to the woods to kill it and spray some blood-scented spray.
What was part 2?
I missed this. Part 2.
Okay.
Old people make out and talk about other things.
So, folks, this is when we finally get revealed the monster, right? It's so good. So we're at the lake, broad daylight, because this filmmaker has no idea how to make suspense. And there's like about 9 guys with a fire hose, and they're calling the monster. They're spraying something so the monster comes out, like because they've decided the monster needs women's blood in order for its eggs to hatch.
Oh, and we do get a weird little thing where the band's like, I think the woman in the woods has been offering her body to the creature. Yep. Remember all that whole theory?
They do, and they hint that the woman in the woods is maybe very, very old, and she has been kept preternaturally young by exchanging blood with this creature. But we do know this. When they show up, the woman comes running out of nowhere going, no, don't kill it. And they shoot her dead.
Oh, what? Did I miss that?
You don't. Yeah. When they come up, when they're in the firemen, she comes running through the woods. Like, there she is. And one of the cops just shoots her in the back and she goes down.
I missed that.
It's great. Yeah, it's very quick, and they really don't. They actually don't even say the thing about how old she is until after, when they're talking about like, that's weird, she did that. Well, how old was she?
Right.
She's always been there. Yeah.
You skipped the fish, the ichthyologist showing up. Ichthyologist.
Ichthyologist.
Not that he has much to say, but he's the guy who got shot in the stomach in real life and went to prison and became an actor.
Yeah.
And he was the one who. Yeah, he's a very much of a know-it-all. He showed up. He's like
he's the one who says like that needs women's blood in order to hatch its eggs.
Let me tell you about women's blood.
So the monster comes out. This is my other favorite part. They have this plan, and the sheriff, just the same sheriff who pounded on his car in frustration when Corky got killed, he just runs at the monster and gets killed.
He ran into the blood foam because the Ginny goes, no, not into the blood spray. She goes, he's doomed now. It will be drawn to him. You didn't hear her say all that. That's what happens. But yeah,
he gets
dies.
killed. But then they spray this thing with this foam, and it just goes down like a chump. And they throw a net over it, and they're like, all right, we got the monster.
Oh.
And they're like, stop spraying it. You'll kill it. And I'm like, maybe you should kill it?
Yes.
It's already killed. It's like literally on like its 10th person it's killed. Maybe this thing is too dangerous.
The ichthyologist says, George, what ifs are a nickel a pound? Did you do this? Did you figure out how much what ifs cost today?
No, that's why you wrote that to me.
Yes.
I thought you were just having a stroke when you said that.
I texted you many times.
I know, but you text me a lot of crazy stuff.
I do not.
What? All right, tell you what, Tim. Just play the music. I'm going to look it up right now.
George's
Inflation calculator. All right.
What ifs are nickel a pound?
So let's see.
In 1979.
This was what, 1979?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a nickel. It's 22 cents.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why does a comic that cost a nickel back then now cost $5? I don't get that. Still confused.
Because nobody reads comics anymore.
That's right.
Because back then a comic would sell 100,000 copies. They'd be like, we're going to cancel this because it's not selling well enough.
Right.
Nowadays a comic sells $100,000. You're like, yeah, it's the biggest hit ever.
So
that's why.
That is why.
So now the sheriff's dead.
Yep.
So the only cop left is the mustache cop. They bring it back.
And of course, they leave Ginny alone with it.
Yep.
Everybody goes home. Brad, who loves her, he's like, I'm tired. I'm going to go home and play.
He goes home and
canasta.
he goes home and eats a thawed out TV dinner standing over his garbage disposal.
A frozen Tony's pizza. Did you ever have a frozen Tony's pizza?
Nope.
Do you know what that is?
It's a frozen pizza. I don't know what
it's wrapped in plastic, frozen, and
ooh, it sounds good.
Well, yeah, my dad was not a cook, so if my mom was away, we had Tony's frozen pizza. And my mom refused to eat that if he ever got it. It was.
Oh, I got to say, I'm looking at it right now.
It's like a crunchy cracker with some tomato sauce on it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Oh shit, Tim! Welcome our new sponsor, Tony's Pizza.
Fuck! Come on, I saw that joke coming. I'm surprised they're still around. I'm afraid now. Lawsuit.
Monster breaks loose, creates a fire, carries off the doctor, doesn't kill her inexplicably. And they walks back to the woods.
Oh, I like this scene. They show up. The whole place is on fire. Brad shows up, and he looks down.
Brad is the other doctor.
Yeah, and he says, "Her shoe. He's got her." Like, wow. Such a Sherlock.
The whole building's on fire. The one guy stops him. He's like, "You can't go in there, you fool. You'll die." And he sees her shoe, and they follow the trail down to the water.
It's got a slime trail. I'll give him that.
We never said what the monster looks like.
A big-eyed crawfish. Very bad.
It kind of looks not a craw. It's a bad costume. It's like a dude in a suit. He's got big lantern eyes.
Big.
He's got a fish face. He's got at least one crab claw.
Yeah.
It looks like an HR puff and stuff. It really sucks.
From the 50s, I would say. A monster from the 50s.
Yeah.
And Brad fights it, right? It's like he actually fights it. It's killed all these people, and Brad like rolls around with it for a little while.
Two guys do, right?
Yeah.
Or is this again one of those Bigfoot documentaries I watched?
Yeah.
Which is fighting Bigfoot.
Yeah, they fight with it, and then the fire truck shows up with the spray, basically. Yeah. I got ahead of myself. This is when they spray. For some reason, the sheriff just runs into the spray, and Ginny's like, No,
the sheriff died when they captured it.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah.
George,
no, this is the second. I'm
in a time loop.
Tim, I don't think they use spray the second time. I think they shoot him.
No, the police car runs into it and it explodes.
That's it. Oh my God. That's it. Guys, we forgot what was actually, I was kind of surprised. Like again, Like this movie, you wouldn't expect it to have capable scenes filmed underwater. It did. They defeat this monster where Brad is tussling with it. And suddenly this cop car comes flying out of nowhere, nails against a tree, and explodes. And you're like, what?
The end. Nothing else. We don't
no, there's a little bit left. Because then Brad and the doctor are back together. And she's like, oh, Brad. And they make out more. And the one cop with the mustache is like, I'm the only other person alive.
Yes.
And
that's right.
And then it does show underwater.
Yep.
It shows the eggs because they're back. And wouldn't you know it? It says the end, big old question mark.
Ooh, classic.
Yep.
Classic.
Yep.
Should we get
a lot of our movies end with question marks?
It's a symbol symbolizing every day I wake up. Revenge? Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die. Revenge. All right, so which of the characters in this movie was most likely to get high in France?
While driving through France. Gotta get the details right, George. We've been falling apart on the details. But do they have to be alive? Don't you think Ginny?
I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
It's Ginny. Ginny's alive.
Well, Ginny. I was going to say Ginny and Brad go on their honeymoon, but who's smart? Ginny.
I was going to say Ginny. Well, I see. That's interesting because I figured the only one in this movie who ever had a passport and ever would be Ginny.
But she brought Brad. I'm saying she's smart. She didn't smoke. Brad did.
Okay.
Brad's like,
you're saying
I want to talk to you about other things.
People who smoke aren't smart?
No, she knows not to drive and smoke. And Brad's like, I'm not driving. I want to talk about other things. Let me smoke.
And what do you want to talk about, Tim?
It's pot.
What's he smoke? What's he pot?
Well, he's getting high.
I assume he was doing heroin. Why not heroin? Let's say
heroin.
He's doing fucking heroin. He's like, I don't think he was like this. Brad's like, I've never heard a bad story about heroin. I think it's just a drug. It always ends happy. Nobody ever has a bad time with it. It's definitely not one of the hardest drugs to kick. And his arms are just filled with syringes.
But Ginny, on the side of the road, Ginny sees a Dracula museum. She's like, this is why I came here. To learn more about Draculas.
But she gets up close and she realizes it's actually just says Dr. Acula. It's just a doctor's apartment. Yep. She's like, oh.
And Brad is high and he drove off with her car. And he thinks she's still there. She's like, I want to talk to you about other things. And then he gets arrested for driving while high.
By the gendarme?
By the gendarme.
Yep. And do they say,
he says,
oui, monsieur, and other French things?
That's just the end, I guess. Is that the end?
But.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
George, I'm going to go first. Because George's story is so amazing.
Whew. My story is so good. I'm the closer.
So my story is about that scuba diver that didn't come. His name was Patrick, I said.
Good setup,
the third guy. So he didn't come that day because he was at home reading the July 1979 issue of Playboy.
Was that the one with Trixie, Pennsylvania?
Lucky,
Pennsylvania. So Trixie's her older sister, yeah.
His name was Patrick, and he couldn't go that day to go scuba diving because this is the day he reads the centerfold answers aloud to his grandpapa, who can no longer read because his eyes are so bad. His grandfather.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Is his grandfather still able to discern the nude woman on the other side of the centerfold?
He can't read. No, it's all blur.
He can't read, yeah, but so even the woman, like he could be not even looking.
He touches the paper, George.
Ooh.
So he went to his granddad's house. He sat on the couch next to Gramps' easy chair, and he read the centerfold answers very loudly.
Oh, let's hear him, Tim.
He can't hear well either. So
his grandfather's really living in a hell.
Her name is Lucky, Pennsylvania. And Patrick says her favorite activity was making fondue. And Gramps says, what? Shaking dog poo? Gotta do my old man voice.
Tim.
He says, no, never mind, Grandpa. Her guilty pleasure is eating Fruit Loops. And Grandpa says, raking dog poops? And Patrick says, no.
Wait, hold on.
The best concert. You got to stick with me, George.
No, I have to apologize, people. I'm so sorry. Tim is going to be. You're
George, let me finish
These are such stretches. Fondue sounds nothing like dog poo.
It does.
It vaguely rhymes. That's it.
Wait a minute. Patrick continues.
You could have even said, "Oh, she's fond of poo." That would have worked. Fond of poo, but she's fond of dog poo. Fuck you. All right, go on. What's next?
Patrick continues. The best concert she went to was the Village People. And Grandpa says, "What? People from the village? They steal my newspapers." And Patrick says her favorite book was 20 Ways to Cook Meat. And Grandpa says, "No, I only killed 19 village people in the street." And he says, well, her favorite show is 8 is Enough. And Grandpa says, "It's not true.
Fuck Dick Van Patten.
19 people from the village needed killing." Patrick says, "Oh, and her biggest turn on is killing people from the village." And Grandpa says, "What? Raking dog poo?" Her biggest turn off.
This is the end of Seddy Bimco. This is the worst.
People spreading rumors that the Beatles are breaking up. And Grandpa says, "What's that? Pete Best is no longer with the Beatles?" And Patrick says, "People she admires. The person she most admires.
Why is this not ending?
It's Ringo Starr." And Graham says, "You mean Richard Starkey?" His friend Reggie comes in.
Is this Reggie of Riverdale fame?
Yeah. Says, "I was raking dog poo in the yard and I heard terrible news on the radio. Your scuba diving buddies were killed by a bog monster." And his granddad says, "What? The Beatles broke up?" Anyway, and so Peter clenched his fist and he vowed to get revenge on this bog creature. And he hopped into his car and headed to that small town.
Who's Peter?
Patrick.
Who's Peter?
Patrick.
Okay.
He headed to town. And he just got there when the creature exploded. And he heard the explosion and it hurt his hearing. And Patrick said, "What happened?" And the remaining cop said, "What?"
Oh, my God.
And Patrick said, "Yes, what's going on?" The cop said, the bog thing blew. And Patrick said, "The dog raked poo?" And on and on. Come back, George. My story ended.
Are you sure? I was going to go over there and just stare in indifference at the ceiling.
So Patrick had to just live, not getting revenge. I'm telling you the end. Patrick eventually regained his hearing, learned that the creature who killed his friends is dead, and he goes home and has to live his life without revenge. The end.
The end. Wow. Really? That was what happened this week, Tim? I want to cede some of my story time to talk to you. What mental state were you when you wrote that? Because everybody, believe it or not, he was reading that.
Yeah.
So what were you? What?
I was trying to make my story shorter. It's short. He didn't get revenge.
It was real good.
You got his story. You want to build on mine?
Yeah. No. So Tim, you did hit on. Play my music, please.
Oh yeah.
You
music.
did hit you hit an interesting problem with this story because when we were doing our improv, you're like, wait, does the character have to be alive? Not a lot of people survive this movie.
No.
Essentially, the 2 doctors and the 1 cop. Even the monster doesn't live, but there is one thing we're forgetting, Tim.
The eggs.
The eggs.
Yes.
The eggs.
Yep.
Suddenly cast into a world where they no longer had their parent to take care of them. And say what you will about this horrible monster that didn't have a name. It was a caring parent. It made the trek all the way into town, down all the backwaters and side streets.
Somehow.
Probably killing a bunch of people as it goes. Somehow got there.
Took a taxi.
Took those eggs, took them right back. Took a taxi. So luckily, because it's eggs, it was able. The monster was blown up, burnt to a crisp by a car crashing into it.
Yes.
But those eggs grew up without guidance. They just kind of hatched.
No math.
They actually also. No what?
Math, no English, no guidance. I'm just saying. Is that what you mean? No 10 Commandments?
No.
Okay.
No, they kind of got swept into the waterways. Like, they just kind of like rolled through, like, because this bog, this quote unquote bog, which was really probably a river or like a pond or something. It wasn't a bog, whatever. But all these waterways are connected. It kind of like drove down to Arkansas. That's where the eggs actually hatched. And you know what they were?
Are they going to go meet Wormface in Gotham?
No, not Gotham.
Not in Arkansas.
No.
Arkansas.
They didn't actually even get the chance to hatch because one day a little Dana Plato finds them. And she goes, "These will be perfect. These will be the missing ingredients for my catfish Kool-Aid." Folks, you know what this is.
Previous episode.
If you listen to a previous episode, Boggy Creek 2, Dana Plato plays a delightful scamp, and she's not delightful. It's one of the worst movies ever done. And she uses all this stuff to make this thing called catfish Kool-Aid, which turns out it catches you big catfish, but also catches you Boggy Creek monsters. Big Beitai himself, as he's referred to only in that movie, is probably just her dad, really, but we'll get into that. Go listen to the episode. So the sequel to The Bog is Boggy Creek 2, because the eggs become catfish Kool-Aid, and they never get to hatch to wreak vengeance on the world.
And the producers could afford 2 more letters. Boggy. The new movie. That had a bigger budget.
They could actually afford 8 more characters.
Oh, Creek 2. Okay.
Creek 2. Yeah. And I think there was even a subtitle, wasn't there?
That's way over budget. Yeah.
Yeah. They had mad loot. Yep. That's my end. That's the end of Seddy Bimco.
Shut that music
story
down.
Hurt.
My story hurt?
Down.
I can't believe you thought my story hurt.
It's Tim.
That story. Fondue dog poo. How can
Folks, I just want to remind you all, my co-host
similar.
No, they don't. They rhyme. That's it. He is a cartoonist for The New Yorker.
Sometimes.
The highest. Yep. This is what this guy does. This guy, if you are a highfalutin person sitting in your Manhattan apartment with your pinky out as you drink tea, looking through like the latest collection of articles, you might fall across one of his cartoons and get a wry chuckle like, oh, that is funny about that man's hat. And then you might one day be inclined to like look up more about this guy. He's like, oh, my favorite New Yorker cartoonist Timothy Hamilton also does a podcast. I hope you listen to this one.
I hope so. Those are good.
I hope they get to the I hope they hear like all the dog poo stuff. Like, I never did realize how words that rhyme with ooh all sound like dog poo. Martha, come in here. You rhyme with poo.
Martha, that does not rhyme with poo.
No, but you does.
P-U. To you. B-U.
What if his wife's name was Sue? Is that just the end of the marriage?
Yes, I think
Sue,
so.
you are poo. Too. Ooh. Woo.
Well, did you pick a movie?
Yeah. So next in our store of the 50 Nifty. So as you may have realized from listening to this, listeners who aren't there anymore, Tim is a bit of an agent of chaos.
Sometimes.
I tend to move more or less in a linear alphabetical order. Tim doesn't. He hops all over the place. He's like, Wisconsin, yeah. He actually did text me saying, don't touch Idaho. He had a great movie for Idaho, which is the next movie. So he was like, the next one after that is Illinois. So I'm like, cool, I'll do Illinois. I have to put Tim on blast because Tim famously doesn't do the research. He sent me a couple movies like, this is a great one. One of the movies he sent me was called In the Land of Prehistoric Dinosaurs. Tim, did you read anything about that film?
No, I just sent you a list.
It was fucking filmed in Russia.
Well, I just sent a list.
Tim sends me these things like, this will be a good one for Illinois. So I'm like, I don't want a repeat of what happened when we did Massachusetts.
Are you stealing my state?
If you want to.
Are you stealing my state?
No, I'm doing Illinois. I left you Idaho.
Okay.
But the movies you sent me as like, you could do these were like inept. Illinois is the home of Chicago, the second city of the United States. There's so much shit that's filmed in there. Mm-hmm. And Tim, I was pretty sure I was going to do Home Alone.
What?
Because all John Hughes films are set in Chicago. I could have done.
That's way too good.
Ferris Bueller. I know. So know what we're doing instead, Tim?
The remake.
Home Alone 3.
Jesus.
Yes.
Okay.
A standalone sequel, but is still entirely filmed within the confines of Illinois, largely Highland Park, apparently.
Wow.
But yeah, there's no Kevin McAllister, but it's some little shitty kid who's left home alone in a rich person's house.
Okay.
Looks like this time instead of the Wet Bandits, Joe Pesci and Chud's own Daniel Stern. Mm-hmm. Looks like there's 4 wacky people for this kid to visit horrific levels of cartoonish violence on.
I hope one of them is Jim Varney.
Nope. No, these are all actors who probably never worked again. It is from if Plex, the website Plex is to be believed, it is on streaming on Disney Plus. I did not check this out. There is also a copy on Daily Motion, so you can just watch that. But yes, join us next week for Illinois' own Home Alone 3.
And love us and like us online, and tell your mother, tell somebody else. Tell people at Needle Drop
Tim,
Records.
Did we get an email?
Cablasso didn't write us. He said he's going to write because he really liked our Chud episode.
The most recent episode that is aired as of our recording.
Second only in quality to this episode. But love us and like us out there on the socials. Tell a friend.
Yep. But we're not on Facebook and we're not on Twitter.
No, they
So
suck.
like Blue Sky or whatever, the Threads maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
You blow my mind again.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
We'll say
Home
goodbye.
Alone 3.
Are we done?
Bye, everybody. Yeah, we're done. Oh, we're done.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
He got to one of those doctors off the grid, and he got a big boot to put on his foot to heal his ankle, and then he drove into Germany and got another accident, and the police were like, "Oh my God, look at das Boot." There.
What's he doing? Das Boot.
That's all. There's your
God
butt.
damn it. Wow.
Let's do something else.
All right.
Should I cut that out?
No, keep it in.